Hello, everyone. So my name is Cormac. I am the editor slash owner slash most of the graphic designer for Archive of the Odd, a speculative found fiction magazine. And a while back, I promised to make a formatting video talking about how we do some of our formats because part of found fiction is that we are very, very, very format intensive. Every single piece has its own specialty format, and it is all just very much meant to be unique to the piece and often involves many, many different design decisions and just things like that. So I wanted to talk a bit about how we do our designs. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out. I do not actually do all of the designs. Sometimes authors will do their own. For instance, this piece right here is by Nick Sylvan, and Nick did all of the formatting here. I have no power. Community posting board, however, that is all me. Obviously, Ellen Edwards wrote it. That part is not mine. Anyways, um, but there is still a lot of just different formats that go into it, and I know that other zines also enjoy doing kind of similar things with found fiction or just mocking up formats. And I wanted to give a little bit of how we do it. And I do want to note that I'm going to be using Canva for the purposes of this tutorial. I swear we do not use Canva for everything. Um, it is mostly just that InDesign and Vellum and Publisher and all those really great, very powerful professional programs are super expensive. And so if you just want to make a fun zine to share with some of your friends, or you just want to do a short little project, you shouldn't have to pay like the $20 a month that some of these programs cost. And so anything I say here should be able to go to other programs. Like I think you can probably use most of what I talk about with InDesign, but I'm just I want this to be available to everybody, and that means that I'm going to be using Canva. So that said, let's get into it. And the first thing that I want to talk about is mocking up existing formats. So one that comes up actually fairly frequently is Discord. And this is from the upcoming novella Cat Voleur's Revenge Arc. This is actually slightly old. These icons are out of date. This was just when I took the sample for this video. And Discord is kind of where a lot of fandom things happen. And so a lot of pieces that revolve around fandom or internet culture will involve Discord. And Discord luckily has a relatively simple and recognizable format at this point. And I'm going to be drawing from this. I would usually use my own account and use Inspect Element for a lot of things, and I'll be doing that a bit later with Twitter. But for the sake of everyone who I talk to on Discord, I figured I would not do that. Quick thing about Discord, you'll notice that there is a lot of extraneous information that is not in this sample. There is timestamps, there's the user list, there's pinned tweets or pinned messages, alerts, everything. There's a lot going on right here. And the thing with found fiction is that it is assumed that any information you give is going to be informative. Oftentimes fan fiction is kind of part mystery. There's a lot of you put together clues from what you are given in these formats. And so having a bunch of extraneous information can be really distracting, and sometimes readers will believe that that is important. So as long as it's not important, I say don't put it in. It just makes it very busy while reading. And yeah, everything I do is kind of a minimalist version of the format. And that definitely includes Discord. There are no user lists, nothing. But as I said, we're going to do kind of just a quick mock-up of, let's do Discord first. And so if you use Inspect Element, you can find the hex codes for all of the colors on the page. However, not every website has a great Inspect Element feature. Some of them are just completely unreadable. And also, sometimes it's just faster to use the eyedropper tool and do this. And that's the entire background color right there. Then I'm going to do some basic things, add a bit of body text. This is going to be me. And you can tell I've done programming because my first thing is going to be hello world. Other thing, I suggest left justifying everything unless there's a very good reason to have it center justified, because Canva will just kind of do weird things if given the opportunity, and text will just go in the wrong places. So I'm going to use timestamps, even though I don't do that in Revenge Arc, because it's just, it might be useful for your piece or something that you're doing. It's just not useful in this particular case. So I've got all of the basic information. I need an icon. This is also from Revenge Arc. This is Percy Shelley in a flower crown. This is from one of the characters of Revenge Arc, not Percy Shelley, someone who uses this as their icon. Correct a bit of the spacing. There's a larger gap between the username and the text, so I'm going to do that. And the icon begins at kind of the top of the username, and Canva will justify things, and usually ends at roughly the bottom. So I'm going to shrink that a bit. This one's a little bit weird because the file is slightly larger. You'll see there's a box around where the like past where the icon itself ends. So there's a bit more guesswork involved in this one. But okay, I can then say this is pretty close. It's a bit more distant, and I'm going to justify this. Canva will also give you basic margins. Those are the purple lines that will appear probably several times throughout this video. But let's make some changes to make this a bit closer. So this does not look that much like Discord. It's a very abstract interpretation of Discord. First of all, usernames are bolded. Second of all of these colors are just wrong. All the text in Discord other than usernames is usually gray. So I'm going to continue using my very fancy eyedropper tool and just eyedrop from different parts. And that one's a little bit too dark. So I'm going to do that. Then you'll notice, well, you have the issue of this is definitely the wrong font. Or maybe you didn't notice and you just do not see as many fonts as I do. That's not the point. If I had Inspect Element open, I could see very easily what the font is, because there will be a list. And indeed, I will show you this, because if you go on to Reddit, everyone hates it when fonts change, and also everyone wants to mock things up. So you can often easily find what the fonts are. And so this is from Inspect Element. Anytime you see font family, that'll be the list. And so the first font, if your computer can support it, it'll be Whitney. Whitney is a proprietary font, I believe. It's, no matter what, it's not available on Canva. I already checked. And also, I might not have it for other reasons or might not want to use it. The next one is Helvetica, Helvetica New. And then if your computer doesn't have that, it'll go to Helvetica. If it doesn't have that, it'll go to Arial. And if it doesn't have that, it'll go to whatever default sans serif there is. For Revenge Arc, I actually used a different font. I used Noto Sans Myanmar. But I use Typewolf for a lot of, like, if I know that there's a font that is proprietary and I want something that looks similar, it'll offer similar fonts. So I don't know if either of those are in Canva. Again, I used Noto Sans, and that is kind of just what looked similar to me. So this is Noto Sans Myanmar. This is Noto Sans. And so I'll bold that. This is Noto Sans, and this will be Noto Sans. And the other thing is timestamp is much smaller. I'm just going to eyeball it. Inspect Element will give you font sizes as well. And since you're going to be putting things on an A5 or A4 page, it's not going to be the same, but you can get general proportions. But either way, you now have something that looks fairly similar to Discord. You can continue this for quite some time and have something that just looks very Discordy. The next one that I want to do is Twitter. Twitter comes up a lot in a lot of stories. And that one I actually can use Inspect Element because I can just open my own Twitter and you don't have to see anyone else's stuff. So first, Twitter has a white background, and so I'm going to make a white rectangle, and then I'm going to lock it, because otherwise I fling backgrounds all the time. I just accidentally click them and I move them places. It's horrible. It's definitely my greatest vice, I would say. But okay, so we'll go to the archive of the odd Twitter, and you have, let's see, what's a good example? There we go. Yes, I'm re-recording this, you'll notice, on the 25th, because the first one, yeah, ended up 40 minutes long, so I'm trying not to do that. But so you'll see you've got this kind of thin gray box around each tweet. It's rectangular. There is no rounding corners. A lot of things do have rounded corners. You have, other than that, the icon, normal things, handle, archive of the odd, and then the text. And then there's a bunch of analytics and things, and I am not going to include them in this format. Just it falls under, there is a lot of extraneous information on anything. So I am going to use inspect element though. And so I can then go, yeah, as you see, there's a border box and it'll give me the fonts. So this is as it's 14 pixels. It has its own font. This is not available on Canva. I already checked. So the next one is Roboto, and that is, fun fact, the same as the Gmail font. I know because I have several times mocked up Gmail. 1 second. See, this is why we lock things. And so I make a box. It'll continue offering me margins. I'll make something that is larger than the margins by however much feels right. Unfortunately, that is how I operate on most things. Get rid of this and make this 1. Then, okay, take that and justify to the center. And then I'll just use the same icon. You can make your own. I'll take the same information, except for obviously this time it is going to be in black. And so I'm still going to be Cormac. This time I'm going to be, however, I'm going to be at Cormac. And then I'm going to have some very, very sage words to say, of course, and that is hello world. So let's look back at Twitter. You'll notice this is there. The font is grayed out for the handle. This goes to the corner of the icon, and everything else is also kind of grayed out except for the text of like 5 likes, 1 retweet, 93 views. Those are all bolded. So I'm going to put this over in its corner. See if it'll go there. This is going to become, and I'm not going to look too closely. I'm just going to choose whatever gray feels right in this case. This is another case if I can go find the hex code. It's probably more effort than it's worth. Then I will go say Roboto. There. And now you have something that doesn't really look like Twitter, okay? Because as it turns out, these little thingamajigs are kind of what determine what looks like Twitter. I'm still not going to include a timestamp. I am, again, very much of the belief that if it does not support the format, it's not really good to have. But I do need these things. And these things drive me nuts because I've never found a really good way of mocking them up. You'll notice if you look very closely, in most of Archive of the Odd, these little buttons are slightly off. Yeah, I have not figured out a good way of doing it. Oftentimes, I just draw it freehand. You'll notice I have Adobe Sketchbook. I just remake it. In this case, if you are just doing this for fun and you do not care, you can screenshot them. And you can put them in. And that is definitely, do not do that on something that you are then going to try to sell. But if you just want to mock things up, Make them a bit bigger. And then I'm gonna fit the box to it. Fit the box, and then anything else. Oh, there's also lines around these widgets and assorteds. So I'm going to do a line. It'll automatically justify to one side, hit shift, and it'll stay straight, mostly. Go there. Weight is 1, same as the rest of the box. And then the right, oh, I did not hit enter. There we go. And so now you have something that looks mostly like Twitter. And that's really the basics for mocking up an existing website. Again, I'm not going too far into things. These are not the most complex websites, but just for that, it will kind of cover the majority of how you will put things together. I'm going to break this into 2 videos because I also want to talk a bit about how we do original formats. So I will see you there. Thank you.